Hello and welcome back to the Mystic in Training podcast with me, your host, Melissa Amos. Have you ever noticed that when you let your mind lead the way, you have to make 100,000 million decisions? That everything feels to be like, is it this or that? Is it here or there? Do I do this now or later? And it becomes this sea of questions and wanting to make the right move and going to your AI app maybe and asking which one should I choose? And really outsourcing our intelligence to something that doesn't always give us the right answer. Yet, when we put another part of us in charge, when we trust in our soul, when we let our soul take the lead, even if it makes no sense, that things just kind of fall into place. The choices that we make almost become choiceless. That the path seems to unfold into places that we hadn't even considered. You know, as a business owner, as a podcast host, as a parent, as a homeowner, as a human being, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of decisions and choices that need to be made every day. And the possibilities nowadays are endless. You can just go onto Google and type something in and, millions of results will come up. And how do we know which one's the right for us? And when we're really trying to forge our path, when we're not being told what to do or where to go, I don't have, for example, a set routine. I don't have it that I need to be at work at 9 a.m. on a Monday and that my lunchtime is at 1 and then I come home at 5. I create my own schedule, which sounds like freedom, but it's only real freedom if we cultivate it. It's only real freedom if we are understanding that we create our own freedom. Because for me, a life of endless decisions isn't freedom. It's overwhelm. So what's the solution? Well, what I've learned, especially through my psychotherapeutic work and of course through my work with energy and my own just lived experience, it's like there's 3 decision makers. There's one which is like the fear or the safety. I'm moving towards safety, which is often very loud, which is often very prominent, and which is often actually very limiting. That kind of decision making wants to keep us where we were, because the role of fear, the role of safety scanning is literally that, to keep us alive, to keep us safe. And of course we want that. We're not going to go and jump off a cliff, please. And all our safety mechanisms know is what worked before, or what's been modeled before us. Another aspect of us is our patterns, our conditioning, our programming, the things that we just believe to be true, the things that are routine. And from a psychological point of view, it's like those neural pathways that have always, that have embedded into ourselves. So this is the familiar. It is different from safety. Sometimes we just do crazy things. They're related for sure, but they're patternings. They're the things that we have installed within ourselves. They're the things that naturally, when we are driving to the same place that we've always driven to, and we just kind of take that route where we don't seem to divert off the path, where we're walking. And if there was something that literally tracked our every step, it would show that we walk literally the same path. We cross the road at the same time. We divert at the same time. We put our right foot in front of our left at the same time. Oh my gosh, wouldn't that be fascinating to see that? Just how many different steps we take today and how we take on our path and how many are the same. So this is our patterning. This is what's familiar and what's comfortable, or sometimes uncomfortably comfortable, but that's another story. And then there's another, and this is the one that I have been really pushing myself, if you like, to cultivate, or I've been really focused on, because it wasn't, for whatever reason, it wasn't necessarily the natural path for me. And that's the soul. That's this wiser aspect of us, if you like. And I often know the soul to be this undeniable and aspect of us that just believes in ourselves entirely, just knows our potential and holds us to this, we know you can do it. We know you can do it, over and over and over again. And the more we let the soul lead, and the more our soul comes into our decision-making processes, well, life starts to go in a whole new direction. We do things that we didn't believe that we could do. We do things that push us outside of our safety zone, not in an unsafe way, but in an unfamiliar way. And actually, the more we do this, what's really amazing is the more we do this, the more we recondition ourselves. The more we remember who we are and what is possible. And we start to create these new patterns. We start to create these new pathways. And so that becomes the familiar path. And I kind of think for us mystics in training, that that's part of the goal, to update these systems that we are running so that our soul is in charge, so that our soul is helping us grow and evolve and move into these new aspects of ourselves. But how does the soul actually speak to us? Because it all sounds really wonderful. Listen to yourself. Yes, but how do I know? Melissa, tell me how I know what my soul is. All I can hear is go this way or that way, and I don't know. And this is good and this is bad, and I don't know. And maybe this and maybe this, and if I do this and la la la. And that's not your soul. Because your soul speaks in these whispers. The soul speaks in these tugs. The soul speaks in these recognitions. The soul can be very subtle until we turn the volume up on it, but it's definitely persistent. The soul is always leading us towards our purpose. The soul is always leading us towards our growth. The soul is always leading us into the things that want to be healed and outgrown, and the next level identities that we know we want to live, but we don't necessarily trust that it is right for us. The soul builds our dreams. And not only does it build our dreams, it builds the dreams that are aligned to us. And you know what? Big picture and small picture. Soul will lead us to opportunities that, as we're moving towards them, might feel tiny. And when we get there, we're like, oh, that was the moment that changed everything. My soul led me to Scotland. My soul led me to reading an email, and before I even got about a third of the way down, going, I need to be there. From the place that it was going to be held, to the tutors, Robert Holden and Michael Neal, who were running it, to the date that it was, to just everything. I just knew I had to be there without really knowing why. It didn't make sense. It was the timing was probably not ideal, but then it turned out to be ideal. The subject was something that I'm already studying. I'd already been doing work with Robert. I didn't know much about Michael, although interestingly, my grandma gave me one of his books years and years and years ago, because he was into NLP and so was she. And so you see, the soul already knew all those years ago that this was something I'm going to be doing. And it turned out, while yes, it might have just been a retreat or just been a few days away, it turned out to be one of those life-altering moments for me. The whole thing, and one word, one sentence, one moment in time, that when I was sitting in the sanctuary and I had this realization that there is no big booming voice in the sky. It was that. The soul wanted me to lead there. And that was where it was best placed to happen in all of the circumstances. And it wasn't loud, it was a knowing. And my brain gave me 100,000 reasons why I don't need to go and why it wouldn't work and why I have other responsibilities and why this is a busy time of year and why it's so much money and why. Yet when I followed that knowing and I followed that path, it all was just, it all worked. I got picked up by a friend who I'd never met in real life before. I saw somebody that I hadn't seen for 13 years and we reconnected. My family came out to meet me and we had a most incredible holiday. Like everything just worked out. This is what happens when the soul leads. And it comes from a space within us and beyond us. And here's my truth, that the soul is never quiet. The soul never stops, but it's often that it's like hidden behind the overwhelm. It's often that it's quiet behind the loudness that our life seems to throw at us. Because it's not like our purpose ever dies down. It's just that our body becomes too overwhelmed and our mind becomes too overburdened to really tune in and listen to it. It's like we have 37 tabs open in our body and the soul tab is just sitting there behind like one little quiet one that's just keeping the system going, but the volume's not on. Whereas three different YouTube channels, one podcast, and some TikTok video that's just someone screaming on repeat are all pressed play on your open tabs and you don't know where the noise is coming from. Like that is the reality for most of us for most of our lives until we develop a practice, until we develop a relationship. And I do believe it to be a relationship with our soul, until we invite our soul in to be part of the conversation. And then we learn that that video doesn't need to be on repeat. I can turn it off. Before I started this podcast, I just closed all the tabs on my screen. Why? So that it records better, so that the energy's cleaner. How often do we do that with our brains? We don't. Well, we do, and we can. And this is what I cultivate in my membership in Soul Space, and this opening and this question. And it becomes a practice. Because you can listen to this once and you can go, oh, that's a great idea. And then life will get loud again. The tabs will stay open because they open automatically. Open your phone and see how many Chrome tabs you have open or Safari tabs. I'm an Android girl. See how many you have open and be like, oh my God, that's a lot. And they don't close until you press them. The same is true. And so I think our job is to bring this new conversation, this new connection, where our soul really drives us. If you listened to the conversation last week with Kyle Gray, it was very interesting to hear him speak about it, because you can see that as he's been working with this connection really since he was a child, it was something that he doesn't really second guess. He said, I don't really give it much thought because he knows his soul is never going to lead him wrong. And that tab is way open and on constant. It's always available, and it is for you. It is for us. It is for all of us. Should we create the practice? So how do we do that? It's actually easier than we think. It's actually starting to ask better questions. I wonder what happens if right now, whatever time of day you're listening to this, if you just said, if my soul were in charge for the next hour, just an hour, what would shift? If my soul were in charge for the next hour, what would shift? And you don't need to know what will shift right now. because your other tabs might be like, oh my God, she's onto us. She's going to shut us down. Let's get louder. Wow. Or let's hide. Let's hide. I have it on my MacBook that sometimes I press something and it hits play and it's just playing. And I'm like, where is that sound coming from? Can't find it. And so we ask the question, and then we make space to listen to it. We ask the question, and then we allow for our soul to speak our language, because it will. And I tell you this, it will be delighted to have been asked. Finally, she's asking me, she can hear me. And it will speak to you through bodily sensations. It will speak to you through, this is often how it is for me, like external signs from the universe. It will speak through the 1111s and the feathers on your path and the songs on the radio. It will speak through words that come in, through ideas, through this pull, or even a pressure that comes into the body that says, try this, do this. An inspiration, an idea drop will come in. And the next part of that is we listen. We need to listen. And then we need to act. Because if we don't, we're going to go and get ourselves busy with the familiar. We're going to follow the fear patterning or the conditioning, because that's what we're used to. This needs to be a conscious practice. This needs to be something that we are reminded of every single day until it becomes a habit. And when it becomes a habit, then it becomes part of our evolution path. It becomes part of a remembrance and a reminding. And then, as Kyle so beautifully expressed in the last episode, it just becomes a way of life. And then the mystic and training path, this knowing that there's this greater intelligence out there, that there's this golden thread that is pulling us along, is there and it's available and it's true. And then those decisions, which beforehand we had to go through 12 tabs and go, is it, was it, and then probably open 6 more, now becomes an inevitability. It becomes this choiceless path. It becomes this, well, this is just what I'm doing because this is who I am. It becomes, well, this is the choice that I make because there isn't another way. This is what I'm dedicated to. This is what I'm devoted to. We become coherent with the aspect of us that wants to keep on growing. And yes, it will lead you into the places that need healing. It will lead you into the places that you have outgrown. And it will remind you, as you ask the question, soul, lead the way. What do I need to know about this? Oh, this is something that I've been doing which has been harming myself. Well, how do I move from that now? Oh, this is something that I've been doing which has caused me to abandon myself. I see that now. Thank you. Now, how do I claim myself again? It becomes the, oh, this was something I was doing because it came from my fear patterning, but my soul is showing me that there is another way. Ah, where should we go with this? It changes everything. It changes your life, and it will become more available the more you do it. This is the conversations that I have in my containers. This is what we deepen in my membership community because it's so important. And the practices that come with it, the meditations and the angel cards and the connections with channeling, with all of these other incredible practices that we have access to, become the support from this. But the soul is the strategy. So that's your invitation today. If your soul were in charge for the next hour, what would shift? Bring that into your awareness, give yourself a few moments, and then do, act, create, manifest, then come back. Let me know what changed, what shifts. I can't wait to see you on the next episode of the Mystic in Training podcast.